Good morning. We continue our meditation on the capital sin known as Acedia, pardon me, invoking the Desert Fathers and Hildegard of Bingen. And it's interesting that Hildegard links it up with failing at our work, that work takes energy, work takes enthusiasm, it takes commitment. And she talks about how the soul becomes weakened by the coldness of indifference and neglect. And the result is that we lack the fire of the Holy Spirit, which is the fire to do good works. It postpones doing good, she says, and it drains us of our vigor to fight for justice, to take on injustice. And as she says, people say, well, if God exists, let God be, because God does not need my work. I desire nothing more than to live fully. So the whole idea of a philosophy of life that's just about my living fully is at stake here when we're talking about acedia and lack of energy to do good things. Professor Daniel McGuire, who operates from the Roman Catholic tradition, says that these tendencies in human nature are negative dynamics that pollute relationships, politics, and economics. And he says to neglect them is worse than naive. It is really dangerous to neglect these realities. And the fact that all cultures and all religions attempt to name these capacities that we have as human beings, these negative energies and directions we can take, this misdirecting of love, this misuse of love, the fact that all religions and cultures name them in some way is very important. It's telling us something about human nature, isn't it? And what are we doing to stand up to these tendencies? Because this is not about someone else. It's about all of us are capable of doing evil. There's a real danger, for example, in projecting the idea of evil onto Adolf Hitler, because in fact, he articulated and he inspired, if that's the right word, the negative forces and many other people in his country at the time. And they were not doing their reflection on these dark shadow capacities that humans are all heir to. And so they willingly participated in his lies and in his demagoguery and in his anti-Semitism and the rest. So, and militarism. So evil affects all of us, not just indirectly, but all of us have to face up to it and ask, are we opening doors to these spirits that do not represent the best of our species, but represent the shadow of our species? But one point to make is that there is no one consensus. There's no one way to talk about the 7 capital sins in the West. It's quite diverse if you look at it historically. So what I'm doing in naming these 7 shadows and the 7 capital sins in this book, in light of the 7 chakras of the East, has a precedent insofar as none of these are frozen in time. And one thing we have to ask is, what are the particular appeals in our time, given the way culture has evolved, of that strike this note of misplaced, misdirected love? The great issues of our time, climate change and the denial of climate change, coronavirus and the denial of protecting ourselves and others with masks, wearing masks, and getting the amazingly swiftly accomplished shots to fight this disease. You might say these are new issues today, but they derive from ancient understanding of what human beings are capable of doing including denial and including selfishness or narcissism, that doesn't bring in the health of the community when we make our decisions simply from an individual point of view. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.